नमस्कार दोस्तों और जय हिंद। आप सभी को स्वागत है इन माय चैनल 1971 वॉर बुक सीरीज। तो दोस्तों आज हम बात करने वाले हैं विद एयर कॉमोडोर श्रीधरन, पॉपुलरली नोन इन द एयर फोर्स एज डॉक, who as flying officer took part in the Meghna heli bridge, स्पेशली द मेघना हेली ब्रिज ऑपरेशन, जहां पे 311 माउंटेन ब्रिगेड को एयरलिफ्ट किया गया था अक्रॉस द मेघना रिवर बाय द 1110 हेलीकॉप्टर यूनिट which were equipped with Mi-4 helicopters. Initially joining his own unit at the end of the Sylhet heli bridge, the Surma river heli bridge, most of his operations considered the transport of troops from one place to the other during the operations. Also, he took part in the Daud Kandi heli bridge operation, transporting troops to reach Dhaka with as many soldiers and armor as possible for the Indian Army by the end of the war. To know more about the operations and his own flying experience before the war and during the war, let's welcome Air Commodore Shridharan to our program today.
Okay, I'll start from the beginning. I was born in Kannur, in Kerala, on 6th November 1947. My father was in the army. He was a doctor in the army, para-doctor in the army. And my early education started from Kolkata. Actually, I went to KG school there in Baliganj. My father was posted. He was posted there. Then after that, my father was posted to Lebong, that is Darjeeling. And I studied there, and I continued to study in Christian schools, in missionary schools, all throughout my career, all throughout my educational career. In places like Darjeeling, then Mount Abu, then Ahmedabad, then Patna, Danapur, and finally I ended my school education in Delhi at St. Columbus School. I passed out. I studied my last 4 years over there. I did my senior Cambridge from there, and then I passed the UPSC exam and joined NDA. In 1964 I joined NDA at the age of 16 plus.
Okay, so 2 years in the NDA and then...
No, 3 years. 3 years in the NDA.
3 years.
Yeah. And why I wanted to join Air Force was, actually why I wanted to join NDA was, in 1957, my father took me to NDA. I was only about 10 years old. And he took me there because the garrison engineer there of the MES happened to be a relation of ours. So he said that you must come and visit us. So then I saw NDA, and I was at that impressionable age of 10. I was completely bowled over by what I saw over there.
And I think helicopters were still not there at that time in service.
No, nothing was there. There was only, there the training was being done on gliders, which later on I became an instructor in NDA. I also taught them gliding. But that time was gliding, and then I met one of the officers there who impressed me with his talk about fighter flying, and that time fighters were very primitive as compared to what it is today. I think the best aircraft was Hunter at that time. Hunter, and then later on Nat. So that is what motivated me to join the Air Force. And then after my training in NDA for 3 years, I graduated out of NDA and went to elementary flying school in Bidar. On HT2 aircraft.
HT2, trainer.
It's in the Hindustan Trainer 2. So that was the trainer in those days, and it was a piston engine aircraft, and with a single propeller. It was quite a difficult aircraft to handle, but that is what we are trained on. Actually, all the initial training has to be very tough. Then only you will graduate to, more sophisticated aircraft. And that experience was great in Bidar. That was for 6 months. and we flew a total of 45 hours.
45 hours.
32 hours with the instructor, and 13 was solo hours, which we did with no pilot at the back. Just a sandbag used to be kept there
Sandbag.
to keep
Acha,
the
acha,
weight
acha.
for the to depict the weight, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that in our initial stages, after that I graduated from Bidar,
Mm-hmm.
and then we went to Air Force Flying College at Jodhpur.
Jodhpur. Acha, this was in which
Yeah,
years?
that was in the year 68.
Acha, acha.
Yeah, 67 June.
So you're still
Yeah.
pilot officer?
No, I was just a cadet,
Cadet.
flight cadet.
Still cadet. Acha, acha.
Yeah, you have to get through these stages. Then, actually, after 1.5 years only in those days.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's after 1 year. After 1.5 years, you become a pilot officer.
Acha, acha.
Yeah. So the first was the primary stage, the basic stage, which
Mm-hmm.
was on HT2 at Bidar. Then came the intermediate stage, which was on T6G Texan. This was a Harvard aircraft.
Oh,
Uh,
acha, acha, acha. Okay.
this had a retractable undercarriage,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the HT2 had a fixed undercarriage.
Acha.
Uh, so this we flew 85 hours. This was the intermediate stage,
Mm-hmm.
and in that we did day and night flying both in that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and we did cross country also. In the other one was only circuits and landings and aerobatics
Mm-hmm.
and various maneuvers of the aircraft. This also we did all those things. Plus we did cross country. Plus we did night flying.
Night flying. Acha.
Yeah. So we did about 7 hours of night flying. The rest 78 hours were day flying.
Acha. So, sir, at that
And
time, I think flying in the night was very problematic because you didn't have any navigational aids or anything.
but this flying that we did was only on the circuit.
Acha, acha.
We didn't go outside. The cross country was by day.
Hmm.
That we went to Udaipur and back. From Jodhpur, we were stationed at Jodhpur. So from Jodhpur we went to Udaipur, landed at Udaipur, refueled the aircraft and came back. That was solo we went, you know.
Okay. It's completely by
We had to do
yourself.
our own navigation. The instructor had taught us how to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
So we did navigation ourselves, landed there, turned around the aircraft and came back to Jodhpur.
Acha, acha.
Yeah, that was one of the exercises that during that time. So after all these 85 hours that we did and the 45 hours at Bidar,
Mm-hmm.
the instructors, I mean, we were asked for our choice for which stream to go.
Acha, acha.
So I had put fighters as my stream
Mhm.
at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I was influenced by my one of my relations who was the flight engineer on the Super Constellation aircraft,
Acha.
and he was also he had been on helicopters as flight engineer.
Mm-hmm.
So he told me the future of Air Force, a future of flying
Sure.
in the Air Force will be in helicopters.
Acha.
So, therefore I changed my mind.
Mm-hmm.
My instructor had also recommended me for fighters,
Mm-hmm.
but then I got it changed to helicopters.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had some. My mother had some, but by then I had lost my father.
Okay.
So, my father, I lost my father while I was a cadet in NDA.
Acha, acha, acha.
Uh,
So,
so,
your mother at that time, sir?
so my mother, she knew some very influential people
Mm-hmm.
to get me onto helicopters
Okay.
at that
So that
time. And actually,
so that it
for my
becomes
good,
safe.
sorry,
So that it becomes safe for you.
no, that is what she thought. No?
Acha, acha, acha.
But actually, I mean, what I must say is that the flying and transport helicopters or fighters is equally risky, you know,
Mm.
depending on what role you do. That's what. Like, the other point which I wanted to put forward was that there was a big vacancy of helicopters in the Air Force at that time. So, from our course of 50 pilots, 15 went to helicopter.
15. Acha.
Yeah, normally only the 4 5 used to go in earlier days.
Can I know your
But
pilot
in our
scores?
particular, sorry,
Can I know your pilot scores?
102nd, 102.
Second. Acha.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So there was this big vacancy,
Hmm.
and that's how 15 of us went to helicopters. There were, I think, 10 in transport, that's 25, and another 25 went to fighter.
Now, sir, did you directly start flying the Mi-4s or something else?
No, no, I must, after flying the Howards
Howard.
at Jodhpur only,
Acha.
the helicopter training school at that time, now it is in Hakimpet, Hyderabad.
Hmm.
At that time, this was known as Air Force Flying College,
Acha, acha.
AFFC, the Jodhpur one, where we did a Howard flying.
Okay.
And the other one was Elementary Flying School at Bidar.
Bidar. Acha.
Yeah. And then we graduated on to the helicopters, and the others went to Transport Training Wing in Bangalore, Yelahanka.
Yelahanka Air Base. Acha.
Yeah, where the air shows held.
Right, right, right.
So they were trained on the Dakota.
Dakota. Acha. Transport.
Yeah, and the
Hmm.
transport, and the fighter people were trained on the Vampire at that time.
Hmm.
You've seen the Vampire, no? That with
Right.
that tail,
Hmm.
long tail.
Long tail. Right.
Yeah. So that was at Hakimpet. Fighter training wing was at Hakimpet,
Hmm.
and the transport training wing was at Yalanka, and helicopter training school was at Jodhpur.
Okay.
So and that helicopter training school at that time, now it's Alouette aircraft is there.
Hmm.
Alouette and ALH and all are there now.
Hmm.
But in those days, we had Bell 47G3. that was you might have seen it in the Korean War, it was like a bubble.
Bubble and
They,
just a long tail.
yes, and a long tail, yeah, very
Okay.
much.
And you
So,
can't carry, I think, much in that helicopter.
no, that was only, they used to carry the casualty on the skids, it had skids.
Acha, acha, acha.
Yeah, for landing, you could land on sand, or you could land on snow.
Hmm.
It was all, it was a very difficult helicopter to fly.
Acha.
Like the HT2 was a very difficult aircraft to start with, basic flying.
Mhm.
But then the part of aviation that you must learn with a tough aircraft, same way, same logic was used for helicopters also. So this was tough because we had to maneuver the throttle to go up and down.
Hmm.
It had three controls: the cyclic, collective, and the rudders.
Acha.
So with the collective, that is the one which had for the power to go up and down.
Hmm.
That had a throttle for going up. You open throttle, and while coming down, you close throttle.
Acha.
Like that.
And then for the tails, I mean, behind you had to another.
Tail rotor, yeah. Tail rotor is controlled by the rudders.
Acha, acha.
Yeah, because the engine and tail rotor, that
Hmm.
they balance each other.
And for going forward and backward?
Forward is the cyclic.
Acha.
It's like a normal stick of the plane. You move the stick forward, back. You can come back also in a helicopter. You move back, you hover also at
Right,
one
right.
spot. So
Mhm.
that is part of helicopter flying.
And this was in which year, sir?
This was in, I passed out in 69. So this was in 69.
69. Acha.
Yeah, 69. Actually, I'll tell you, 67 we passed out. 68 we joined Bidar,
Hmm.
and 68 we joined Bidar, and 68 in June we graduated from Bidar and went to Jodhpur, and 68 December we passed out from Jodhpur, that is a flying college, and went to the helicopter training school. So 69 January we joined the helicopter training school, and 69 by May we had finished. Actually in June we passed out from Yalanka, because we were all taken to Yalanka, all the three sections of our course,
Hmm.
the fighter, transport and helicopters, we moved to Yalanka,
Okay.
and that's where we had our passing out parade.
Acha, acha. Now you are all
Ah.
pilot officers.
Yeah, when we passed out from there, we became pilot officers. Up till then, we were flight cadets only. That place, actually, before when we were finally went for the passing out parade, we were told about our posting.
Mm-hmm.
And I was posted to 110 helicopter unit. Me and another uh, coastmate of mine, flying pilot officer Oberoi that time, AK Oberoi. We both were posted to Kumbigram
Kumigram.
in
DLT
110 helicopter.
110.
Yeah, and that I had never heard of this place in my life till then. Silchar was the place.
Mm-hmm.
It is, you know where it is, Silchar. So
Mm-hmm.
this is actually southeast of southeast of Shillong.
Acha, acha.
Yeah, it's actually almost in line with Sylhet.
Mm-hmm.
Karimganj is the place which is right on the border. So our journey was quite eventful because there were floods in Assam at that time. you know, because
Acha.
this was, as I told you, sometime in June 21st, we passed out from
Mm-hmm.
Yalanka, and we caught the train from Bangalore to Chennai, and then Chennai to Calcutta,
Mm-hmm.
and then from Calcutta to
Siliguri.
this place, Siliguri. Yeah, and we got stuck at Siliguri.
Acha, acha.
Because there were no trains going further from there,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had to stay for 2 nights at Siliguri railway station, and then we caught another train which took us to Guwahati.
Guwahati.
Uh, yeah, and then from Guwahati there was a train to Silchar,
Mm-hmm.
which was via a place called Lumding,
Okay.
via Karimganj. So it goes almost near the border and comes back.
Acha, acha.
In those days, now there may be a direct line. I don't know.
Acha, acha.
I don't know what's the latest situation there because a lot of things have improved to a great extent in the northeast.
Acha. Now
So
you're just posting 110 HU.
yeah, we were posted there, and when we landed up at Silchar railway station, there was a transport for us to take us to the Air Force station. From
Acha, acha.
someone had come to receive us also, so we went. Uh, and this is a very unusual thing that I must tell you,
Mm-hmm.
that en route from Silchar to Kumbhigram,
Mm-hmm.
there are two places. Uh, First is one place called Dwarband,
Okay.
and then after that is Udharband.
Mm-hmm.
And when you reach Kumbhigram, that is the Air Force station,
Mm-hmm.
that there it is. Everyone is used to call it Batti Band
Batti Band.
because
Acha, acha.
because it used to be light used to be only on generator,
Mm-hmm.
and we used to get the generator only in the evening and morning. The
Mm-hmm.
rest of the day there are no lights.
No lights.
There was no electricity as such.
In that
But
entire area.
that time it was like that.
मतलब
This
पूरा
Air Force
गाँव
station
था
didn't
सर,
have
I
any.
guess.
Now everything is there.
हाँ हाँ.
I,
लेकिन तब
I
पूरा गाँव
went there.
था एकदम.
Oh, sorry.
तब at that time it was fully a village.
Yeah, it was a village only.
अच्छा.
And this airfield was an old British airfield, this Kumbhigram.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh,
And there was no lights except for in the evening.
in the evening we used to get the light at about 6 o'clock till around 10 o'clock. And in the morning also, when we had to get ready, we used to get lights at that time.
अच्छा.
Then, as the years went by, the electricity came, and then things were normal there.
Okay. So it must be pretty hectic for young pilots to work there.
Yes, but it gave us what should I say, a tough training ground again. Like I said, everything was very tough in those days.
Mm-hmm.
The even the accommodation,
Mm-hmm.
it was that Basha type of accommodation, semi-permanent type,
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा.
And we had a mess also. It had in the center there used to be a parachute,
अच्छा
So,
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा.
and
And
because it used to rain.
laying that down, you had to eat, I guess. Underneath,
Where?
underneath the parachute. The,
Underneath the parachute, the table was there.
hmm.
Yeah, so that was all actually makeshift arrangements,
Mhm.
which later on a proper mess was made.
Achha, achha.
Yeah, I was posted there for about 3.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, in my first posting.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, there was a lot of development. The rooms and all came up very nicely. Then the mess also came up. So all that happened as the years went by. But
Okay.
initially, when we went, it was a very primitive place,
Hmm.
and we were living along the taxi track only of the runway,
Acha, acha, acha.
of the old runway. But they had built on that only,
Mm-hmm.
on the plinth of that only.
Acha, acha.
So they were all blast pins, because the British had fighter aircraft over there.
Mm-hmm.
So they were these blast pins where the fighter aircraft used to be
Spitfires
of,
would be there, I guess.
of that era. They used to be positioned over there.
Acha.
So at this place, Kumbigram, we had only 110 helicopter unit,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a detachment of Dakotas which used to come from Jorat.
Acha, acha.
Yeah, and the main role of that squadron was 49 squadron, which used to operate there.
Mm-hmm.
So they used to do uh, supply dropping in the Mizo Hills
Okay.
from Kumbigram, and
For
our
the
role was
infantry.
also sorry.
For the infantry.
For the army, there was
Acha,
big
acha.
uh, army brigades were there. Two brigades were there. One was at Aijil and one was at Lungle.
Acha, acha.
These two brigades were there, and then of course along the border there was border BSF was there.
Mm-hmm.
So our role mainly was to give supplies and communication. There used to be a courier for the mail. All that used to be done by Mi-4 helicopter,
Okay.
ex Kumbigram in those days. This
Mm-hmm.
is I'm talking of in 69, 70,
Mm-hmm.
71 and all.
Acha.
Yeah. So both one border was with Pakistan, the other border was with Burma.
Right. East Pakistan and
Yeah.
Burma. Right, right.
Yeah, and our area of operation was Mizoram,
Mm-hmm.
Manipur, and part of Nagaland, northern Nagaland,
Now, sir,
southern Nagaland.
I would come to one thing, a question, like
Yeah,
what was your actual task while operating from Kumbigram? And I think by now you are all flying Mi-4 helicopters, right, sir?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, that also took some time to convert.
Acha, acha,
I
acha.
came there, as I told you, in 69 June,
Uh-huh.
and there is a conversion course for that also,
That was in Kumbigram only.
in Kumigram. Yeah.
Acha, acha.
So, unfortunately, what happened was, unfortunate now, you can say fortunate later,
Mm-hmm.
that we did not have any qualified flying instructors
Okay.
to train us, to train us on the helicopter. But we had helicopter qualified instructors, means who could give you instructions, but they were only helicopter training. Like Me-4,
Mm-hmm.
we would only get trained by them.
Acha.
So they were called right-hand check pilots.
Okay.
And they used to be right-hand check pilot and right-hand instructional pilot. So the instructional pilot could give us the instruction, but the solo, which finally, you have to, after a certain number of hours, you go solo.
Mm-hmm.
Solo meaning you will fly with another pilot on the right. The left-hand seat was occupied by the captain of the aircraft, and the right seat is the co-pilot. So the co-pilot is also like the instructor also flies from the right seat. Same was the case in the Bell also, where we were trained initially.
Because
So here we do a certain number of, sorry?
Bell had two people, and Me-4 had, I guess, two people and one observer, like in
No, flight engineer.
flight engineer. Right, right, right.
Yeah, and flight gunner also in some cases when we had to carry load, flight gunner also used to come.
Mhm.
Flight gunner was also like a road master.
Load
He would,
master,
supervise the loading and offloading of the aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course we had our technicians to service the aircraft and look after. We had a technical officer. We had a CO, flight commander. That's how our CO was. When I went there, one squadron leader Ojla. Later on, squadron leader Sandhu became the CO during the war. Just before the war, in 1970 he got posted. 70, end of 70.
Acha.
Yeah. And then Flight Lieutenant Ved that time. Earlier there was one Flight Lieutenant Yogi Prakash.
Okay.
who had he had instructed me in my initial stages, and then I had got solo also through him. you know,
Acha.
once you get solo, then you start your operational flying.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, what we were doing was, when we initially went there, we were flying co-pilot to gain experience
Acha, acha.
in the area. We fly with experienced pilots.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were very kind to us. They would allow us to, take off and land.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, they are not supposed to. It is supposed to be done only by the captain.
Acha, acha.
So they used to give us that experience. So we built up our experience like that, and that terrain was so good for us. That particular height range, we
Mm-hmm.
learnt a lot of flying on this particular helicopter. Yeah, hilly and flat.
Mm-hmm.
And hilly was more towards Mizoram and also Manipur.
Mm-hmm.
Those areas were hilly.
Acha.
The flat was only Assam and
Acha.
Tripura. These were flat. And we were operating in Tripura also. I forgot to tell you that Tripura was also one of the areas we operated. And that's how we were familiar with areas adjoining Tripura, which was Bangladesh. At that time, East Pakistan.
Right. Now I had a question, sir.
Yeah.
1970 say in 19 till 1971, what was
Yeah.
your main objective in these flying missions around the border?
Huh. Oh, that time the flying missions were mainly, as I told you, for in support of the army.
Acha, acha.
Yeah, whatever task was given by them, there used to be casualty evacuation, there used to be mail couriers, there used to be load couriers. All these different, tasks were given by the army there. Army was located at a place called Masimpur,
Masimpur,
which
yeah.
was,
That's the
which is
cantonment, I
the
guess.
div headquarters was there. 57
57
Mountain
Mountain
Div.
Div. Right, right.
At that time, it was there.
Mm-hmm.
Now it is somewhere in, I think, in
This,
Manipur.
I think, yeah, maybe. This is the
Uh,
headquarter of 4 core, I guess.
4 Corps, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So actually at that time, General Sagat Singh,
Mm-hmm.
that's how I came in contact with General Sagat Singh.
Acha.
He was, there used to be a organization called 101
Communication
Communication Zone.
zone. Right, right.
Yeah, he was the GOC of that 101 Communication Zone. And under him, this whole Mizoram came under him
Okay.
at that time.
But I think
So
the
he used to come,
headquarters was at Shillong at that time.
Shillong, yeah, that was at Shillong.
Mm-hmm.
So he used to frequently come to Kumbhigram to go to Aizel and beyond, and he used to take our helicopters.
Acha.
We were given the task to take him along the border, and various roles were there.
So
And before
at
the
that
war,
time, the height of counterinsurgency operations were going on.
yes, exactly.
Hmm.
So that we didn't do any heliborne operations per se like that,
Hmm.
but we did lift troops, you know,
Hmm.
from one helipad to another.
Hmm.
You know, a certain number of troops, but all those operations were by day. There were no operations by night. So we were familiar with heliborne operations in this form,
Hmm.
and we used to operate with that door removed, the back
Hmm.
clamshell door, which Scornida Wade that they mentioned, no,
Hmm.
that at the back it used to be open.
Hmm.
So that is for disembarking and embarking the
Quickly.
aircraft.
Yeah.
So quickly, yeah, it helped that way. And there was a helicopter training wing at a place called Varangte, Army Wala.
Acha.
It was called Jungle Warfare School,
Okay.
Counterinsurgency Jungle Warfare School,
Acha, acha, acha.
CIJW.
Hmm.
So that was a place Varangte that was at located North Mizoram.
Acha.
So they had that operating, and they had this helicopter which came little later, the Chetaks,
Hmm.
and but they all came under Air Force at that time. Their flying came under Air Force, though they operationally they were controlled by the army, but flying was controlled by the Air Force wherever they were located jointly.
Now, sir, coming to 1971, you are still a flying
Yeah.
officer, I guess.
Yeah, by then I had become flying officer.
And you are mainly involved
And
in
I was the junior most.
junior most.
Incidentally, I was the junior most in my unit.
अच्छा.
when I was posted there, and I continued to be junior most even after 3 years
Okay.
because no one junior to me got posted during that time. All who came were all senior, including Krishnamurti and all. They came much later. They
Mm-hmm.
were senior to me,
Mm-hmm.
but they were less qualified than me because I became fully operational much before them.
अच्छा अच्छा.
Though me and this flying officer, I mean, that time initially pilot officer Oberoi,
Mm-hmm.
who is my course mate, we both were the last to be posted to Mi-4s at that time. Initially, when we landed up at the unit, so we because they used to give the conversion. I mean, the operational conversion as per when you were posted to that unit.
Okay.
So even those who came senior who were posted after me, they got conversion after me only. So that's how I became fully operational much before all of them, me and Oberoi.
Mm-hmm.
And we operated independently. In fact, our last flying test was done just the night before the war started.
Okay. मतलब 2nd of
Uh, we had
December.
gone to we had gone to Chabua to do that test,
Mm-hmm.
and we appeared with one wing commander Ramarao, who was the instructor, who was the examiner,
Mm-hmm.
and he gave us this thing clear to carry passengers. Otherwise, we could only carry load.
अच्छा
Once
अच्छा.
you are fully operational, you can only carry load. You cannot carry passengers. So there are different categories of in flying. Starting the top, the ultimate category is A Master Green, which is you can fly in all kinds of weather conditions with certain weather restrictions are there. And Cat A is to carry VVIP and VIP.
Okay.
And Cat B is only VIP, you cannot carry VVIP. And Cat C is for passengers and load. And Cat D is only for load. So these are the various categories which are there. I, of course, got my AMG much later
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा.
when I was in VIP squadron later. Yeah.
But you by now were flying both passengers.
I was then called as my category was C white, and I could carry passengers and load. That was my category during the war, and there was a few of us who were like that, with C white. Whereas Squadron Wade, he was B Master Green.
अच्छा.
He could carry VIP also.
Because I think he
And
also said to me that he did carry some VIPs and he had some incidences.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I had instances with the Prime Minister also
Okay.
on a Mi-8 in my hometown, Kannur.
Kannur. अच्छा.
And of course, nothing happened. It was when fire alarm went off
Mm-hmm.
and smoke was there in the cockpit and things like that. And the Prime Minister all jumped out of the aircraft.
Okay. Happens, I
But that
guess.
was on ground only.
अच्छा.
Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime
Rajiv
Minister.
Gandhi. अच्छा अच्छा.
Yeah.
Well, now, sir, coming to 71 operations,
Yeah.
um, I would like to know a bit about not the war part as of now, but before the situation developed into a warlike situation,
Yeah.
um, how was the situation at Kumbigram when you are hearing about this refugee crisis, this turmoil in East Pakistan, and how
Yeah.
were you actually slowly pushed into the war, sir?
Ha. See, when we in March we came to know
Hmm.
that this massacre has occurred in Bangladesh. I mean, East Pakistan at that time,
Hmm.
and these refugees started flowing into Assam and Bengal that side.
Hmm.
Uh, we were mainly concerned with Assam,
Hmm.
and there were a lot of refugee camps, close to the border.
Hmm.
There was a place called Hailakandi, which is also in Assam,
Acha.
which is south of Silchar.
Hmm.
So that was one of the refugee camps. So there, and they were all along. There were these refugee camps. When we were flying, we could see that, and there were these C-130 aircraft had come from US, and they were evacuating these refugees to Guwahati.
Was this done by Air Commodore Karandikar, sir?
Air Commodore Karandikar, he was posted in 43 Squadron in Jora.
Mm-hmm.
And during that, just before the war,
Mm-hmm.
they were training, you would be knowing that kilo flight.
Kilo flight. Acha.
Yeah. And there was one squad leader Chaudhary, a flight lieutenant or squad leader Chaudhary, I can't remember,
Mm-hmm.
who was the instructor on Dakota. Squad leader Chaudhary.
Acha.
He was
I
from
think
his
the
squad.
Dakota was
And
not used during the war, but only for transport.
Dakota not used during the war, but they were used for transporting people, no?
Mm-hmm.
And load also. And we got our fuel also for our Mi-4 operations
Acha.
in barrels. It came with this Dakota fuel and oil also.
Acha. Acha.
Because we needed oil also. These Mi-4s
Mm-hmm.
had heavy oil consumption, fuel and oil consumption. Yeah,
And I think at that time those hand pumps were there.
those were there
Acha.
for taking it out.
Okay.
Yeah, and they had it was called Sudan pump.
Sudan pump. Acha.
Yeah, so that was like those generator type,
Mm-hmm.
which you pull it like that and start it, and then it's connected into the barrel, and from the barrel it gets transferred to the fuel tank of the aircraft.
Acha.
Yeah.
Now, I would like to come to the situation of how you were actually, your squadron was pushed into the war, like
Yeah.
how the entire 1110 HU with 105 HU was
Yeah.
called by General Sagat Singh to assist in the helicopter operations.
No, see, actually, what happened was
Hmm.
that before the war, we were all getting set for the war,
Mm-hmm.
because I also did number of sorties outside Assam to
Acha.
ferry aircraft from Chandigarh. We have a base repair depot of Mi-4s
Hmm.
used to be in Chandigarh. So aircraft
away.
after overall used to come, we had to go and ferry it from there.
Acha, acha.
So I ferried two of those aircrafts, and because we had to build up our serviceability, for the war.
Mm-hmm.
We came to know that war is imminent sometime in around May, June of 71.
Mm-hmm.
That it's going to happen because already I think Manik Shaw and had told Mrs. Gandhi that I need some time before, and that monsoon period was not a ideal period for the war,
Yeah, you can't even
And so
fly
during
yet
that time we geared up to improve our serviceability. So in that process, finally we had full 10 aircrafts. 10 aircraft is the strength of the helicopter unit,
Mhm.
whereas flying squadrons have 16 aircraft. We had only 10. That is the authorized strength. So finally we had 10 by the time December came. We had, in fact, one of the aircrafts I ferried from Jammu, all the way from Jammu.
Jammu, one of the Mi-4
Yeah.
helicopters.
Yeah, Mi-4.
Acha, acha, acha.
so two were ferried from Chandigarh and one from Jammu.
Acha.
Yeah, and then because that helped me build up my hours.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a certain number of hours to get these categories which I just told you
Mm-hmm.
about.
Flying hours.
If you don't have those hours, you are not qualified
Mm-hmm.
to fly. So
Okay.
those are they're the requirements for even for passengers carrying load. Also, there's a certain number of hours.
Mm-hmm.
So for carrying passengers, you got to have 200 hours of captain, which I had by the time the war started.
Okay.
So for that, before the war, General Sagat had come to our unit and he discussed with Squadron Ved and Squadron Sandhu, Flight Lieutenant Ved at that time, about that his certain plans were there to operate at night.
Mm-hmm.
So we had never operated at night, outside. I mean, we did our training, operational training was there. I had done by then only about 5 hours of night flying, 5 hours captain. So that was the mandatory requirement to get that category,
Okay. Okay.
So this category is valid day and night, the flying category. So then we started training at night and we started doing cross country at night, because otherwise our cross country was all for operational reasons, which was for the army or for various other agencies, like border roads and BSF and CRPF. But mainly our role was for the army. Casualty evacuations were mainly for army, but we evacuated civilian casualties also where required. If our headquarters said go to so and so place, pick up this casualty, we
Hmm.
had to go and we had to get it.
Okay.
So, our main role, as I was telling you, was communication and casualty evacuation. And this troop lifting thing came much later. And for that, we trained. We trained by night and by day. We did not carry troops actually; it was all empty aircraft. But we knew because we had done so much of operational flying with troops and load and all that. So we knew the capability of the Mi-4.
No, I
And
had
the
a
Mi-4,
question, sir. I mean, when you're
yeah.
what is the difference between you carrying a load inside the Me-4 and
Yeah.
carrying passengers? The difference, yeah.
Load is, there can
In the
be any
training,
kind
sir,
of
in the
load.
training process.
Sorry.
In the training.
Yeah, in the training process. In the training, what happens is that we do something known as screening, which is done by these instructors. That is
Acha.
like Scotty right different way.
Mm-hmm.
So he used to take us on these actual flying commitment, say starting from Kumbhigram, going all down right up to the southernmost part of Mizoram, and
Acha.
then coming up. That there certain helipads were nominated by the army,
Mm-hmm.
where we had to pick up load, drop load, all that was there. So starting from Kumbhigram, we used to go, as I told you, and we used to break the flight at Aijal, where we refuel.
Mm-hmm.
Aijal is the capital of
Mizoram.
Mizoram,
Back then it was just under
Yeah.
Assam, I guess.
Which, yeah, that time it was all under Assam. There was no Mizoram. Yeah, very correct. Yeah. So these seven states which were there. So
Mm-hmm.
Mizoram was one of them. Now one of them. But at that time, we used to go to Aijal, and Aijal was the brigade headquarters, one of the brigades, and another brigade was at Lungle, and the southernmost place was a place called Parwa, but that was occupied by BSF. So we used to do one BSF courier also. So when we used to do this training, as I told you, we used to do it with full load. And I will give you one example that the first time I went for operational, these are known as screen sorties. Screen, that they are actually to check you out, whether you're fit enough to fly
Mm-hmm.
with this load and with this configuration of the helicopter. So the load used to be full, sometimes over full also,
Okay.
because that is also again to test your capability. Overloaded was also one of the things that they used to test.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which
Scornida
can
Wave,
happen
I
in
mean,
war, to be honest.
yeah, exactly. That is why we were so well prepared for this, because we had been doing this day in and day out during our training times in Mizoram, Nagaland, Manipur, all these areas.
Mm-hmm.
Because even like Manipur, we used to fly for BSF, there. So that also we were quite, conversant with flying in that area also. And this was our area of operation, Mizoram, Tripura, and we were very very familiar with that. And I didn't tell you that when we used to do the screen sorties. So the first time I went with Scondida Wade, so he went to this first helipad that we landed, which is in North Mizoram, which was known as Bukpui. It was a small; these were all very small helipads, but fit for me for operations. So he would show me one approach and landing. I had already done all this, with
Mm-hmm.
some senior pilots who had shown me while we were doing this, as I told you, for our that
Mm-hmm.
building up experience. No,
Right, right.
so we flew with all these senior pilots who would show us, and then sometimes we used to do it ourselves also.
Mm-hmm.
So we were quite confident. So when he asked me, he showed me this one circuit and landing, and then he said, "Okay, now you got up." And he got down from that ladder, and he went inside the cabin, and he
Okay.
told the flight engineer to sit in that seat where he where the instructor sits.
Acha.
So I was like, I was flying solo. I had no one to help me because
Uh,
flight engineer doesn't know anything about
Nothing
flying.
about flying. Yeah.
He knows all about the engine operation and all the various parameters of the aircraft. He's very familiar with all that, but he's not familiar with flying part of it. He knows whether you're okay or not. That whether your approach is correct or not. That
Right.
is just an idea, but he doesn't know flying at all. So he did this, and I landed. So after that, he said, "Okay, now you are independent operator. All
Will fly by
this whole
yourself.
sortie, you will only fly. I will not touch the controls."
Acha.
So then he came and sat there, but flight engineer was not there because that was only to build my confidence to say that I can fly, solo type.
I mean, I'm wondering, sir, that Ved sir prepared all of you by himself.
No, there were others also. There was another Jayaraman was also there. Because he couldn't have done all. So many. We were about 20 pilots, no? Out of which the top 4 or 5 were the senior pilots,
Mm-hmm.
whom he didn't have to train, and they were already cleared and all. But below that, we all were there, and all were not trained during his time. There was another Yogi Prakash was there, who had given me my basic flying.
Mm-hmm.
So he had taught us that time. So he trained those guys also. Some of the people who were slightly senior to me. So that had to be shared. It couldn't have been done
By him
uh,
completely.
purely by him because it would involve a lot of time. And
Yeah.
Mi-4 flying is very strenuous. It's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the whole aircraft shakes you up.
Acha, acha.
So, and it
I mean,
vibrates a
that's
lot.
what Russian aircrafts are, I guess.
Yeah, but they were very tough aircraft. You could drop it from height, nothing would happen to it.
Mm.
If it ran out of control, which generally it never did. It always, you could handle it, and the amount of experience we had, we could handle it quite well.
So now,
So then we trained, as I told you, by night. We did these cross countries, and we were fully prepared and fully geared up. All pilots who were required. Actually, what happened, as I mentioned in my previous podcast with Skanvina Ved, that thanks to him, he had a confidence in all of us. He and the CO. They said that we will only fly. The people who were posted there, and not the Mi-8 trained people who had come back and were available for him to fly. They were senior Mi-4 pilots, but he said no, they were not posted on our posted strength. They were attached to our squad,
so the
attached to
young
the
pilot
station
recommend
there.
you people will fly.
Yeah, he said only we will fly. So that gave us such a great, confidence booster. You can't imagine at that time, and especially when we knew we were going into war,
Mm-hmm.
and the war was very uncertain. So how long it would last, nobody knew all
Nobody
that
knew.
at that
Yeah.
point of time when we started. So on the 3rd of December, when the war was declared, we were there in Kupigram. We had come back from Chabua, and we were already told that once that siren goes, you have to report to the unit with your luggage also, because you will may have to go anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So our hold all was there. That was our only luggage, the bedding.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what Coordinator Ved also said, that in Agartala, no, only thing that we had was this bedding,
Bedding, no clothes
nothing
or
else. And
anything.
we had this overall which we wore,
Mm-hmm.
and that continued for throughout the war with that overall.
Right.
Yeah.
So third.
And when we reported to the unit that time,
Mm-hmm.
then it was decided that some 6 aircraft helicopters would be going to Teliamura
Okay.
out of the 10. And the other 4 would disperse to various locations, operational locations. And I was in one of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was dispersed first to Manipur one helipad. Then we came back by sunset because at that time Pakistani Air Force was still active
Mm-hmm.
in East Bengal, in East Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
So to keep ourselves clear because they could have attacked Kumbigram
Mm-hmm.
airfield.
Right.
So this is a dispersal plan which is there now even everywhere in the Air Force it is there to keep the aircraft safe. You go to some safe area. Those are known as safe areas only. So I was sent first to this place in Manipur, a place called Nungpa.
Acha.
And by sunset we came back from there. They said by sunset you have to come back to Kumbigram.
I mean to exploit this safe zones, right, sir?
Safe
If
zones, yeah.
anything happens.
Keep the helicopter safe, yeah. During the daytime, they could have attacked us during the day. And we knew they won't come at night to attack.
I think because
So we
I
used to
think
come back by
Pakistanis had
sunset.
sabers at that time, F-86 sabers, which were not good at nighttime flying.
Yeah, exactly.
Acha.
So then I think on the 6th, they were completely wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
The Pakistani Air Force at Dhaka.
Acha.
So after that, we were told, okay, you needn't come back. You can stay there only. And from there, I was in Igel
Mm-hmm.
when the my final dispersal was at Igel.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, I got a message to move to Teliamora because these people had moved to this place, Kailashar.
Okay.
Squadron Ved and the other 6 helicopters
Very close to the border.
at close to the borders because by then he had decided that he is going to do the heliborne operations to Sylhet.
See that 4-5 group
Yeah,
Air Force.
General Sagat had already given the plan to Group Captain Chandan Singh, who had passed it on to us, and then that's how those helicopters moved there, and then I also joined them by next day on 7th. By then they had already done. I reached by 7th evening. In the meantime, I had done some casualty evacuations at ex Teliamora
Mm-hmm.
because Teliamora was like a base. It had refueling and everything. Our servicing facilities also available there.
Okay.
So though we had our ground party with us, who were the technicians, in the helicopter, and we took them to
That place.
to Kailashar also.
Acha, acha, acha.
So we joined the whole party there
I mean to
and
take part in the Sylhet operation.
Sylhet operation. Yeah.
Acha.
So they had done the day operation by the time I reached there,
Acha, acha, acha.
and then the night one, the
I think there was negotiation going on for the
yeah,
night
that
operation.
correct. That's kind of the way that described how it was done. Because that first party was left, and they said, "Oh, only 250 are there. They don't have stores and they don't have ammunition. You will have to replenish that, and you have to put more troops there." And finally, of course, the full battalion was heli-lifted,
So
including one gun also.
this was 7 December, right, sir?
Yeah, 7th and 8th.
Mm-hmm.
7th and 8th night also, and the 8th night was the last.
So from where
I,
did you?
I took part in the 8th one mainly, 8th day and 8th night.
Acha. So
Yeah.
could you talk a bit about 8th, sir? Like the entire
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time when I went there, that was sometime an evening sortie I had gone.
Okay.
Because in the morning sorties were done by those people who had come earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So I was detailed to go in that. And that was 3 helicopters. And I was number 3 in that. Number 1 was, I think, MM Ali, and there was another number 2 was someone else, and number 3. And we were like, number 1 was in front and 2 and 3 on the side.
Acha, acha.
So we went like that in like that. But as you had to go to the helipad, then it had to be in single file.
Mm-hmm.
One landed, then the second one, and third at the back.
Acha.
It's like one here, and one here, like that.
Okay.
And after one had finished his offloaded the thing, he'd immediately turn to the right and go back.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
to the left, that is what we were told, that the left was Pakistani position. And that's where the firing was coming from.
And like
And
like Squadron Leader Ved said, did you also get Pakistani firing onto your helicopter, sir?
Yeah. It was all helicopters were hit actually.
Acha.
And you see, the what saved us all was this helicopter Mi-4. You've seen how high it is,
Hmm.
and the cockpit is right on top.
Hmm.
And the pilots sit there, and below is the cabin. You've seen that.
Right, right, right.
So, and in front, below where the seats of the pilots are, below that is the engine.
Okay.
And the engine is fitted ulta,
Uh-huh.
means facing the pilots. The
Right.
back of the engine is what is the front of the helicopter.
Uh-huh.
So when the firing used to come generally on that engine area. So
Okay.
that wouldn't affect us at all.
Hmm.
And if it came up because the downwash was there, when it was fired from below, the thing used to get deflected. The bullets, tracer bullets, used to get deflected. So
Hmm.
there were a few bullet holes in the
In the rotor.
rotor, main rotor, but the tail rotor was never hit. It was only on the main
I
rotor.
think it's because of a smaller target. If you see it from my
Yeah,
side.
and that was at the back. Generally it was well clear,
Hmm.
except for one aircraft got shot. That one right in Rao, he got shot from below.
Hmm.
Then one of the Gurkha Johnnies got hit in that. So he went back without dropping his sword.
Hmm.
He took the casualty back.
Acha.
But our aircraft, because when we used to go back, our ground crew used to tell us, "Oh, sir, this all so many bullet holes are there." But we never put any aircraft down, and there was no necessity to put any aircraft down,
Hmm.
except that one which was down for a little while, the one which
Hmm. Got
Squadron
shot.
Wade, that it hit that
This
cable,
fuel
the
cable. Yeah,
fuel
yeah.
tank cable.
Fuel tank cable. Right, right.
The fuel gauge came to zero. Yeah. Otherwise, they were no. I mean, the rest of the, and as far as the the lighting of this, that I don't think he described the lighting. Inside there was hardly any lights to see.
He didn't say anything
Inside
about
our
that.
cockpit, they were just these UVL lights,
Acha.
ultraviolet lights, which were placed on different ports or parts of the
Aircraft.
cockpit.
Acha, acha.
And that had to be adjusted onto the instrument panel. That's where all our instruments were there. The
Hmm.
height, the weight, the fuel
Compass.
gauge, and compass, and everything was in on that. So they were luminous, all right. So, but these lights had to be focused there. But most of the time they were not working, so we had to really tap them.
Hmm.
But they were tough. That's what I said about Russian aircraft. They're very tough. They never let us down.
जैसे हमारा सर
And we
रिमोट
had,
से होता है like we have to
and
bang on it
and sorry.
like what happens with our TV remotes sometimes we just bang and it starts working. Yeah,
Something like that.
yeah.
Yeah. So that was one of the problems which we faced. So and then we had this lighting on the ground, which was provided by the vice coordinator. I mean, that time flying officer Sharma, no,
Sharma.
pilot officer Sharma, C Sharma. He was incidentally my batchmate only, from NDA.
Okay. अच्छा अच्छा I
He
think
got actually suspended at Bidar. He
अच्छा
didn't make it for pilot,
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा
and then he became a navigator.
and I think he got a Veer Chakra as well.
He got a Veer Chakra. He deserved it, no doubt about that.
Because I think he also led a counter attack with the Gurkhas on Pakistanis
Huh.
infantry attack. Yeah.
That he was part of that attack. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Because those things were done all by the army, but he was part of that.
Right. And though he
Uh,
was
because
guiding,
his role was only to provide us with communication,
right,
with the helicopters. That was his role was that only,
forward
to set
air.
up the helipad,
Yeah.
set up the helipad and give us communication
Acha.
whether to clear to land or not. If the helipad was under fire, he would tell us don't land, come back after some time, like that. But generally, whenever I went, the helipad was clear. I didn't have to wait. I didn't have
Yeah.
to go back anytime.
This was
Yeah,
only in Sylhet operation.
yeah. Accelerate by day and by night.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And were
and
you
the
fired at in the next day as well?
yeah, yeah. Ninth also I was fired at. In fact, the last sortie also I was fired at,
Acha, acha.
because after that I landed back at this place at Kailashar, and I got the helicopter checked. They said it is all right. There were some bullet holes,
Now I
but
have a
that was
question, sir.
good.
Like, why were
Yeah.
such drop zones selected in the first place from where Pakistanis can actually fire at you?
See, actually, we went by intelligence reports which were given,
Uh huh.
and the helipad was selected by these people.
Army.
Uh, Sco- huh?
Army. By the army.
Who- yeah, by the army. They gave us a location that this would be the general area, and they were not there already. I mean, we took the first slot there, no? The Scotland Way and all took the first slot. So they then found that area which was, as far as they were concerned, the safest.
Okay.
And but later on, while operating, we came to know that their brigade headquarters was there only, just a
Sylhet
little
mein.
ahead.
Yeah.
Ah,
Two
it's
brigades were
excellent.
there. Sylhet mein.
That is what two brigades were operating from there. This intelligence didn't tell us that. And these poor chaps, they were coming back from a battle, already.
Yeah, 4 5
The
Gurkhas.
4 5 Gurkhas, they already had gone into war, and so they were, I mean, battle hardened already. So, and we were all full of josh. Whatever we were told, we just did it. Whether we were told to land X, Y, or Z, whichever place it was, whether light was there, no light, didn't make any difference to us. And the best part is that there was no air opposition
Yeah, because
to worry
Pakistani
us.
Air Force
That
was
was
gone.
completely wiped out by that. So that was not in our mind at all. Whereas when we went there initially, they said, "Oh, they can attack you from anywhere. You can't say." And later on in the war, when we went further ahead beyond the Meghna, after we did the last stop at Dudhkundi and came
Acha, acha, acha.
back to Agartala. So the briefing which was given to us was that now the war will be in the streets of Dhaka. And you will be shot at from anywhere, from some building, some road, anywhere you will be shot at. So you have to, now the war is really on. Before that, you had only seen them firing from a distance or from somewhere which was known to you. Now it can be from anywhere. But fortunately, that para drop was there,
Tangail.
and these people linked up with the ones which we had dropped across the Meghna. They linked up with the paras, and they moved
Encircled
into
Dhaka,
Dhaka
I
and
guess.
completely took over. So there was no more, fear of going into that. So
I
that's
mean,
what
if
they.
close
But
quarter fighting happened in Dhaka, lots of people would have died. Not only
yeah, yeah.
civilians,
Oh, helicopters would have also been shot down.
shot down. Yeah.
Yeah, because there is no. I mean, you've seen. I mean, this Mi-4 didn't have any protection at all.
Yeah.
Mi-8 had got some armor plating, but Mi-4 had nothing at all. It was
To be
just the
honest,
engine
sir,
which was
I
there in
had
front.
to be honest, sir, I had actually touched a Mi-4. That is,
Okay,
I mean, Indian Air Force come Mi-4, which is actually present in Dhaka, Bangladesh Air Force Museum. And
okay.
touching it, it felt like it's just aluminium.
Aluminum. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is so thin, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean,
But it was sturdy. That was the best part. And in the undercarriage, you've seen that long one, the two wheels in
very
front
long.
and
Yeah.
the two big wheels at the back. They were solid. Nothing else could happen. Nothing could affect them.
Right.
Many people have dropped them from quite, 20, 30 feet or maybe even more.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing happened. Uncontrolled. They just came down like that. But nothing happened to the aircraft. And throughout the war, of course, thanks to our technicians, we didn't face any problems of serviceability. They worked around the clock. They were not rewarded. I mean, sad to say, they were not rewarded for the work that they did. Our engineering officers, our flight engineers, our gunners, they were all, I mean, they were part of the war. We also took part in the war, that's what.
Yeah.
But they should have got something, definitely. Definitely. They worked so hard. and they made sure that we were there. I mean, and they were so as enthusiastic as probably more enthusiastic than us. They were so keen. As soon as the helicopter came back, they were in Josh to make it
Started,
ready
yeah.
to go back again. So that no time was wasted on ground.
Because the
They
concern was
used to
for
make
the
sure.
infantry down there.
Turnaround was very fast. Yeah,
Yeah.
so quick, and all the refueling and all were not easy. They were not like from the Bowser. They were from these Sudan pumps, and sometimes the Bowser was available in Agartala.
Acha,
But
acha.
in these other places like Kailashar and all, there were no Bowser.
Mm-hmm. Kalashar,
So
Kalaura,
that
I guess.
Kalora, yeah, Kalora, of course, we didn't refuel. We used to refuel at Kailashar only.
Acha.
Kalora was only a helipad where we picked up the troops and took them from there.
Acha. Now, sir, coming to the Meghna crossing, it's a very huge river, unlike the Surma
Yeah,
river at Sylhet.
yeah.
So,
Surma very small actually, very narrow. Yeah,
very narrow.
in comparison.
So, Meghna crossing, sir, what was your experience? And from where did
Meghna
you
crossing
leave the troops?
actually what happened was that they had already selected that first Nursing D and then from Brahman Baria, no? We started
Brahmanbaria.
operating from
Yeah,
Brahman
yeah,
Baria.
yeah.
Yeah,
Stadium.
huh, yeah. So that was actually the first sortie. We went dusk time from there to Nursing D.
Mm-hmm.
And then we landed. It was dusk. It was like daytime. When they landed and came back, we landed at Brahmanbaria to pick up the next round of troops, and we carried on like that. And initially, it was 3 helicopters at a time. Later on, we had even 5 operating at a time because by then our helicopter strength had increased with 105 and 111 helicopters coming, no, from Chabua and Hashimara.
Mm-hmm.
So we had total 14 helicopters, I think, by then. Yeah.
Acha.
So that's how we were able to heli lift so many people. and we being the junior most, I was given the position on the further rightmost position,
Right.
which was closer to the or should I say the river.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a point where we used to cross the river and go across to Narsingdi.
Acha. And how much time
Yeah.
did it used to take, sir, for each crossing across the Meghna?
That whole sortie used to take around up and down used to take around 30 minutes to 35 minutes.
30 to 35 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I think it's more than 12 minutes of flying.
yeah, about that much, 12 to 15 minutes of flying. Yeah,
Uh, then,
yeah.
okay.
And first was I think Nursing D, and then there was what is that other place? Not Vaidya Bazar. There was one more.
Vaidya Bazar.
Vaidya Bazar. Yeah,
Vaidya Bazar, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah. Vaidya Bazar. Yeah,
Boita Bazar. Acha, acha. Boita Bazar. Acha, acha.
Vaidya Bazar. Yeah.
And this was from
So
Daud Kandi, right, sir?
Daudkundi. Yeah, Daudkundi. Yes, for Nursing D, Daudkundi, and Vaidya Bazar. These are 3 places that we operate from Brahman Baria.
From Brahmanbaria. Acha, acha.
Yeah, Brahman Baria was just across from Agartala.
Mm-hmm.
Hardly 5 minutes of flying to Brahman Baria.
Right.
And there was a stadium over there. That's where we used to land.
Because I was thinking, sir, Ashuganj city is just sitting on the this
Border.
no, just sitting on the Meghna river. From there
Yeah,
you couldn't take off, but from Brahmanbaria you had to fly.
yeah. No, the army, because army troops were there. No, we had to
Mm.
take this whole 57 mountain div across.
Right, right.
That was the aim. Was that only? So all their troops and battalions and
Army was
armament
there.
and everything was there. Yeah,
Right, sir. So now coming close to the surrender of the Pakistanis,
yeah.
what was your task at that time? Like the last bit of the transporting of troops and equipment till the surrender.
That was a day. That was a day before. Before the surrender was done.
Acha.
The day before that, we had gone to the last was Vaidya Bazar.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I think, we finished all operations by, I think, by evening that day. Next day, one day we did not fly at all.
Acha, acha.
15th we did not fly. 14th was the last that we flew. 15th we didn't fly, and then 16th we were told. In the meantime, on 15th we came to know that all this negotiations were going on for the surrender. That General Jacob had taken off from Calcutta and gone to Dhaka and spoken to General Niazi. I mean, all that negotiations, we came to know about that. And then we were told that the aircrafts will go from Dhaka to, that is on 16th evening, will go to Dhaka, from Agartala to Dhaka, which was about 40 minutes of flight.
Now, which were the kind of passengers that you are carrying, sir? On the 16th.
See, that there were three alouettes in which those three went. The Army, Navy, and Air Force commanders.
Acha.
And we were five Mi-4s who carried all the generals and others who were there, generals and some other staff of those three who went in front.
Any journalists?
They were actually behind us. We landed first and then they landed after
Acha,
that.
acha. Did you carry any journalists? Journalists or?
I don't remember because I was right on top.
Right on top.
You see, the passengers and all were known to our engineer and gunners, who were there.
Right.
They were handling these people. We were just told, okay, take off, go start up the aircraft, and then Squadron Karyappa, I was flying with him, so he came and he sat on the right seat, and then we took off from there. And then as we were approaching Dhaka, he said, "Oh, can you see the airfield?" I could see in the distance.
In Dhaka's Tezgaon or sir Kurmitola?
No, we landed at Tezgaon. The runway was, no, we landed on the taxi track only, because the runway was already bombed.
Okay.
Yeah, and so these five helicopters landed there, and after that, those three also landed with the army, that is General Arora, Admiral Krishnan, and Diwan, Air Marshal Diwan.
Right.
Yeah.
And did you witness the surrender, sir?
Yes. Then we went. What happened was that Wing Commander Krishnamurti was in my aircraft only. So he managed to get one vehicle because he was in the cabin. Yeah, correct.
Right.
So he managed to get a vehicle to go to that place. So we were all Squadron Karyappa. I mean, that time Squadron Karyappa and 2-3 other officers, pilots and all, because all the entire air crew was there in these 5 helicopters who were flying during the during the operations. Especially all of 110 was fully there. I don't know. I think other unit people did not come. Some of them did not come. Because all could not be accommodated, but the way that made sure that all of you get into the aircraft. So that's how they all got in,
Right.
All air crew which operated during the war reached Dhaka. And then we went to that racecourse ground and we witnessed the surrender. But there was so much of chaos over there in the sense that all these local people were there.
Yeah.
The Bangladeshis, they were so full of trying to hug us and come close to us, and they were telling us don't go near them. The army was saying don't go near them. They may be armed and all that, but we didn't know all that,
Yeah.
So it was quite a scene over there.
Right. And it was history. So.
And that, history and a new nation was born also that day.
So after the surrender, sir, what was your role in till the evacuation of the Indian Army from Bangladesh?
See, after the surrender, what happened was that the unit continued to operate in Bangladesh, our unit 110, because there were a lot of tasks for the army,
Mm-hmm.
communication tasks, taking them from A to B and all those various loads had to be taken. And later on, as the days progressed, we operated right up to May,
May,
May of
acha, acha,
72.
acha. May of
Yeah, May
72.
72.
Acha, acha, acha.
Yeah, last we were operating, we had a detachment in a place called Cox's Bazar.
Acha, acha, acha.
That beach, the
Uh-huh.
longest beach in the world.
Right, right.
Yeah, we used to get lovely fish over there.
Okay.
so, uh, so we operated there till May.
Mm-hmm.
And other parts of Bangladesh means the south of Dhaka and Chittagong and all that, all those areas we had some communication sortie or some load to be taken. Then a lot of people were visiting. Then the Indian Administrative Service was helping out the Bangladeshis, to set up their
Government.
various
Right.
uh, yeah, administrative things over there.
Yeah.
So that was also part of the role. And I think I mentioned that to you that on the our unit was invited by General Sagat Singh to Intercontinental Hotel on 31st, that is December 31st,
Mm-hmm.
New Year's Eve party.
Party. Right.
Intercontinental Hotel in Dhaka. So I was very fortunate that I was given a sortie from Kumbhigram to Shillong
So
to
could
pick
you
up
come to this
one.
side, to your left? Uh-huh.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
okay. To pick up one Air Marshal King Lee.
Kingly. Acha.
He was the Sasso of Eastern Air Command, number two to Hari Diwan.
Okay.
So he was to be brought to Dhaka. So I came on that sortie, and I and Coordinator Ved was already there, and there were two three other people from our unit. So we had the privilege of there was one flying officer at that time, late flying officer D'Souza, and another flying officer Srinivasan. We were three, and fourth was Coordinator Ved. Four of us from 110, and we were all invited to Intercontinental, and we had a lovely time. New Year's Eve,
Mm-hmm.
a wonderful party it was, and it was a double celebration, not only winning the war, but also a celebration because 4 Corps had done so well, and
Right.
so had 110 in the support role for them.
And I think they face most of the fighting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Most of the fighting from that side was done by the 4 Corps,
Mm.
which came from across the Meghna and this side.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there was some fighting in the sector from where hilly and all, no?
Hilly and
That
Bogra, yeah.
Bogra, yeah, Bogra, yeah.